pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we do roll call, just real quickly so everybody has some clearness, I've got a work issue that's going on that potentially could pull me out, so I am in the reins over to just read if that occurs. So
I need your signature. I have given the folder to Mr. Myers.
okay. All right, Ms. Ackerman, roll call, please.
Mr. Stahl?
Here.
Mrs. Reed?
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Mr. Trombley?
Here.
Dr. Krebs?
Here.
Mr. Birchfield?
Here. Okay, that moves us to approval of the agenda for this evening. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support by Ms. Reed, supported by Mr. Trombley. Any discussion?
I would actually like to make a motion that we move the item, it's item C under for future action, assistant superintendent hire, to for action. This is the candidate that will fill Dr. Gissinger's position. I don't see any reason why we need 2 weeks to think, an extra 2 weeks to think about that, so I propose that we take care of that tonight.
I think that's for the welfare of the candidate as well, correct?
I agree. I think it would help him plan with his existing position.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So that becomes D, or F,
F,
excuse me.
yes.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. That brings us to the call to the public tonight. If anyone wishes to address the board, please step forward to the podium, state your name, address, and we ask that you limit comments to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing that we do not have anyone this evening, we will close call to the public and we will move to the superintendent report. Dr. Gray.
I think it was in July we talked about some special education programming, and there was a request from the board to have Ms. Allison come and give kind of a brief update. So Michelle and I have talked quite a bit, and she has a short presentation for you tonight about the district state of special education, and then we'll be available for questions asked. Michelle?
Yes, but I will need assistance with getting this set up.
Oh.
So I don't see what we need over here.
I didn't know you needed audio visual.
It's okay. It's totally fine.
One thing we can do too is you can just present, Michelle,
Oh, that's fine.
and then send the PowerPoint to the board.
Yeah, it's really brief. It's
Yeah.
really brief.
It's
So
about
I
4
will-
slides. So why don't you do that?
That's fine. So I want to start with, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. I really do appreciate you having me come in to talk about our special education department and some of the changes and things like that that we're looking at in the near future. So one of the things I wanted to review was, I mean, you can't see this, but it was our 18-19 numbers. So our overall enrollment was 5,994 students, and 666 of those students had IEPs. So our overall for our district is 11.1%, which is just below what the state average is, which is 13.3%. So I did a breakdown, which I'll share with Greg if you want to share out to the rest of the board of what our overall breakdown is for each of our buildings. So right now, I'll just go through our lowest building, in case you wanted to know, was our high school. That's about 8.85%. And then our highest is the bridge. There's 109 students that were enrolled last year, and 30 of those students had IEP. So that's about 27.52%. So that's kind of the outlier. I would say the next highest would be at Hawkins with 13.52%. So I went through also with our staffing for the 18-19 school year and broke down what our FTEs are for our teachers, our para FTEs, and our ancillary staff FTEs. So our ancillary staff would be our occupational therapists. It would also be our speech therapists, psychologists, physical therapists, and social workers. So overall, our highest is at the high school, and that's 13.5%, and overall highest for our pairs is 13 FTEs, I should say, at Hawkins. So we changed a little bit of our programming for the upcoming school year. We added FTE, a 0.5 FTE for each of our elementary buildings to really focus on those social, emotional, behavior needs of our little ones that are coming into our district. So each of our elementaries will have a behavior-focused classroom with this teacher that also has a background with working with students that have social, emotional needs. That's also building on the continuum that we have at Maltby, Brighton, and at the high school that already has those type of programs and that type of classroom already in place. We also have an extended resource program, which are typically for our students that are working on alternative curriculum. And Hawkins houses our extended resource program for our elementary, and then Maltby, Brighton, and the high school also have, and that's why the high school is typically known as our TIPS program at the high school. And then in case you didn't know, just another fun fact about special education, our DHH program for our county is housed at Spencer. So we also have 4 ASL interpreters that we have throughout the district also to work with our students with hearing impairments. Another fact in case you wanted to know, also when we're looking at our FTE, that also includes our 6 non-publics. So we serve as Livingston Christian, St. Patrick, Catholic, Maple Tree Montessori, Shepherd of the Lakes, Holy Spirit Catholic, and Cornerstone Christian. Of those 6, I would say roughly we support about 3 to 4 FTEs. And non-public service plans, we provide services only to our non-publics, and they would need to register with the state in order for us to provide those services. So I would say roughly we probably have around 100 students that are on non-public service plan that Brighton Area School supports. And then finally, our goals for the 1920 school year, obviously compliance is always on our forefront. Lots of things are changing in the realm of special education. One thing I can think of just in the recent future is there's a compliance change for transition, and it literally changed back to what it was 5 months later. So really making sure that our staff are up to date on any of the changes that are coming down from legislation or any of the changes that are coming through with your colleague letters from OSAP or even what is coming from the Office of Special Ed for Michigan. Probably the most important goal that we have is working with our teacher on specially designed instruction and curriculum alignment. Specially designed instruction is the reason for an IEP. So we have IEPs and 504s in order to be eligible, as there's a requirement for specially designed instruction. So really making sure, working with our teachers for alignment with our Michigan academic standards and our essential elements from K-12. Special education discipline procedures, we just, I would say, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, that we had Jordan Bollinger come from Clark Hill to present to our admin staff. And then throughout the course of this year, we're going to be working with our teachers and working with our discipline procedures. We've rolled out a discipline manual of really making sure over the last couple of years there's been pretty significant changes in the area of special education discipline with restorative practice and making sure that we're aligning those pieces along with seclusion and restraint law and some of those other pieces with emergency intervention plans. And then finally, our last one, this is more my own passion project, is of course a study process and really looking at making sure when we are having the discussion about putting students on alternative curriculum or alternative diploma track, that we're really sitting down and having the conversation and basing it on data, and we've really exhausted all of our options on that diploma track before we're having the conversation to move students to a diploma track. So those are our 4 goals. We have many other things that we're working on too, but those are really all surrounding and encompassing what we want to accomplish for this 1920 school year. Thank you. If you have any questions, there's any time, you can always reach out to me, and I will answer whatever questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. That's all we got for now.
That will move us now into board action. Item A, regular meeting minutes of August 12, 2019. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Krebs, supported by Mr. Trombley. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye. passes 7-0. Item B, summer tax collection, Dr. Gray, or Dr. Gisting.
Yes, you have in your board packet the resolution to approve the 100% summer tax collection, where our operating millage will be collected 100% in the summer. We leave our debt millage for 100% collection with our winter tax bill.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Someone?
Moved by Mr. Stahl, supported by Mr. Myers. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 7-0. Item C, donation, VHS Girls United Hockey Team. Dr. Gray.
We talked pretty extensively about this last time. We were recommending now that you accept the donation for Board Policy 7230 for $3,000 to the VHS Girls United Hockey Team from Latitude Digital with appreciation.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yep.
Support. Supported by Mr. Trombley. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 7-0, and certainly a deep gratitude to Latitude Digital for their donation to the program. Item D, hiring of certified staff. Dr. Gray.
As we round out the hiring process for Brighton for this year, listed below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are the final 7 hires other than the assistant superintendent tonight, and maybe one more as we get closer to the year. Natalie Doherty, grade 3 Corning, Alicia Phillips, kindergarten, Jake Steiner, special ed, Clee Walker, special ed, Sean Milligan, special ed, Taylor Wilbur, kindergarten, and Robert Delaney. Again, extensive process. Ms. Irvine and her department have done a nice job bringing these quality candidates forward, working with the principals, and making sure that we're good to go with, lots of different candidates and experienced groups. So this is probably one of the ones where we've had a step 3, a step 11, and a bunch of masters. So again, this is the next group of people that we think will be stars in their districts.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Myers, supported by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion?
Is it typical the special ed to start with masters? Or is that just coincidence?
No, but a lot of times, special education teachers will get their master's degree. Usually there's a field of course of study that they specialize in that gets them close to that, and you see them kind of finish or across the
No,
finish
their
line.
undergrad is more classes.
Yeah, and so they're typically fairly close to it when they're done.
And it's nice to see that you did find an auto tech.
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to Gavin and the high school group on that, and Rocky helped as well, and our departing teacher, as well as them working with Sharon on this. So that's a tough one to fill, tough to find somebody for, and we're looking forward to that. We hope it works out well.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. Item E, certified staff resignation. Dr. Gray.
Kind of a late one, a little bit of a surprise, even though we'd heard a little bit of the rumor mill. Tony Greathouse, who is resigning, who's moving on to Clear University as, I believe, their sports and information director and wrestling coach. I know he's always had a passion for moving to that next level. Seems like we've become a training ground for colleges and universities, which I guess is a compliment, but we'd rather not lose these people. But Tony's done a great job for us. I've always said I'd rather have somebody great for 5, 6, 7 years than somebody mediocre for 30. So he's done a wonderful job for us. He's really put us in a great position in our PE classes and our wrestling program as well. So we have it posted now. It's out there as a general posting, and we posted the wrestling job as well. I know John and Gavin and them are also working through the practices. Not that they practice yet, but the different things that go along with the off season of wrestling. So that's all covered right now, and we hope to get some good candidates.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support?
Moved by Mr. Trombley, supported by Ms. Reed. Any discussion?
Wasn't this kind of late, obviously, into the season, right?
Bill, I'll be honest with you, the personnel game has changed so much since I started this profession. I was just telling somebody about this today. Back in the day, people would get a teaching job, move to a community, teach there at least 30 years, and retire from that community. And it is an absolute free-for-all from what we see. The amount of people applying now or moving in between districts with 3 years, 5 years, 11 years, 17 years is just strange. I don't know about the college and university piece because that's where Tony's going. I would have liked a little more of a heads up, but that's just not how this job worked out.
Well, I guess what I'm alluding to, I would suspect that Cleary they didn't have a wrestling team up to this point.
Correct.
I'm assuming they're gonna have a wrestling team this year.
That's my understanding.
Which would lead me to believe that a coach would have to be out there recruiting these wrestlers from high schools in order to be able to have a wrestling team this year. And I'm assuming that would have been Tony Greathouse, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
So how could this whole thing go unlooked upon this whole time in the fact that, you know, here we are, school started, now we gotta scramble, try to find a coach, that kind of thing, when it appears that somebody might have been out there for a year recruiting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. Item F, hiring of administrative staff.
I'm going to turn this one over to Sharon.
Yes, we're excited to offer a recommendation for the replacement of Dr. Estinger and for the Assistant Superintendent of Finance. We did start our process by posting as soon as we had gotten that resignation or retirement. We did have a pretty extensive, for business officials, we had about 17 probably that put their names in. Unfortunately, only about maybe 7 actually had school finance experience from those. But from those that expressed their interest in school finance, that had that experience, they had a pretty healthy number of years of experience that they were bringing forward. We did weed down to 5 that we interviewed. We did have a committee of administration. We did have the BDA represented. We had board members on the committee and had the opportunity to speak with 5 candidates. From there, we did go to a cabinet level interview, and Mike Angelton came out as the top, our choice for the recommendation. And I think that bringing it to future action, to action today is going to make that transition much easier. So on behalf of him, thank you for considering that. We want to get him here as soon as possible, and I think he needs to make those arrangements. So, very helpful.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Myers, supported by Ms. Reed. Any discussion?
I did have the opportunity to participate on the interview panel on Friday. As usual, we had a pretty good pool of applicants with a lot of solid experience, so it certainly was nice to be able to look at qualified applicants that, you know, need to fill some very large shoes and know that we had the opportunity to do that, to really pick somebody that would continue to help move this district forward. And I think Mr. Englander is going to do a great job for us.
I have a question, just Brighton Community Schools, how does that,
2,800.
okay. Thank you.
Just more of a thank you than anything else to the entire team for working on this. This is, I think you said it well, Ms. Reed, that these are big shoes to fill and not an easy role to replace. But I just want to recognize those that were a part of the team to get this filled, and Ms. Irvine for your attention to getting this as a priority item. And certainly there were a lot of people that were involved, so thank you very much. All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. Okay, that closes for action and moves us into for future action. Item A, appointment of representative to the LESA PAC.
At the next board meeting, you'll see this recommendation. This should look fairly familiar to you. This has come before you several times for those of you that have been on for several years. Jamie Buckley has been our representative for quite a while now. It's done a really nice job for us. She wants to continue doing this. She's a parent in our district, and we recommend that you approve her at the first meeting in September. Did she come to a meeting? Is that what you're asking?
No.
When was the last time?
I think so.
Probably 2 years.
Maybe she did it. Yeah, now that you say that.
I mean, just the new board members, kind of.
I've met her personally and talked to her because she was a parent at the same school my kids are at, but I don't think that she's been here.
Angela, Laura, you, yes.
So it might be good to have, for her to visit the board again, maybe the upcoming board meeting.
Look on the sideline too at a football game. Her daughter cheers, and she's actively involved in our cheer program. So she's also down there.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, item B, MASB's 2019 Delegate Assembly, certify your delegates.
You've been through this several times too as well. This is again whether or not who wants to be the delegate, and then who wants to be the alternate, and then whether or not you want to attend. I would say the only difference, I think in the past, it's been Grand Rapids. This one I believe is in Traverse City. So if you wanted to go to that one, darn it all, you'd have to go all the way to Traverse City, spend time at that conference. So
In early November.
yes, I'm guessing the colors.
July might be a difference. There might be a lot of people buying that one. There might be a fight up here. Do we have anyone that has interest in?
I was gonna ask Mr. Stahl if he
Yeah.
wanted to do it again.
I'll throw my name in there, but it's up to you.
Unless someone else.
Are you interested, Ken? Okay. Anyone else?
I'm willing to be the alternate.
Okay. So we've got a, primary is Mr. Stahl and an alternate is Ms. Reed. Does anybody else have interest or wish to put their name in? All right, so let's pencil that in and then, we'll make that official in 2 weeks. Sounds good. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, that was easy. Item C, we already addressed, so that's scratched. And item D, Spencer Elementary water service replacement.
Yeah, I've referenced this several times in either updates or to you personally. Spencer's water system is about due for replacement. So the way that system works is a 2-pipe system. There's a primary and then there's a backup. So the primary has completely failed. We probably fixed that 3 or 4 times over the last 6 or 7 years with breakages and those types of things. We've moved to the reserve. We've never had to fix that one in terms of that particular pipe, so we feel there could be some longevity there. But we don't also feel like risking it, and we have the ability to replace this particular system. The issue is it's about a week-long process. We ran an RFP for this because obviously it's over the bid threshold. And Fonson is the company we'll recommend in a couple of weeks. The only trick to this one is some of the piping is located in some precarious areas under transformers, about the toughest places that you can put it. So we don't feel comfortable doing the work during school, so our goal would be to do as much prep work, as much pre-work as we can get done if you award the bid to Fonson, and then cut over Christmas break. That would be the goal. And they believe they can do it in 7 days at the worst. I always think worst case scenario, so 10, but we're going to try to get as much prep work done as we can, so we just have to cut over Christmas break, and everything that would have to be dug and put in the ground prior to that, we should have done.
Greg, the line that was giving you a problem, didn't it freeze a few times too? It's shallow underneath that part.
Froze a couple times. There was a tree that was an issue for us.
Well,
again, we fixed that one several times, I'd say over the last 6 years. And we were hesitating from switching over to the other one until we'd exhausted that particular resource. Well, that resource is exhausted. There's no way to sheathe that with another pipe. You know, we've explored every option. And so we've moved to the backup where, again, you know, knock on wood, there won't be an issue, but typically we were down for 12 hours or a day if that one had an issue. So we feel comfortable we can make it till Christmas, fingers crossed, and then you know, we can get that work done. We did budget for this in terms of that, and so this was something we were anticipating doing anyways, and it had nothing really to do with the bond effort for November.
I noticed on the bid sheet, there's some additional work that Fonson did. Are we gonna go forward with that? And what would that include?
I don't know if you want to put that. Okay, I'll ask Scott. I don't know about the additional piece. Again, it might be as we get into the project, we'll have that answer for you before the for action item that you have to take. And it could be that, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Just like owning a house, right?
Yeah. I'm glad we had the backup, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, kidding.
Whoever put that in originally was forward thinking, so.
Okay, that closes for future action and takes us into board committee reports, Board of Ed bulletins. You have any committee reports or bulletins this evening?
In our last facility meeting, we did discuss the possible locations of the multi-purpose building. We're going to keep it open and leave it up to the committee at that point to decide whether or not one location is better than the other. Looked at some posters that Grace got made and putting out.
They're all built.
Yep. And that's it. Our next meeting will be September 3rd, day after we get back to the home.
The only other thing I would suggest, Andy, is maybe a finance committee meeting towards the end of September as we finish the crossover with Dr. Gistinger and Mr. Engelberg. That would be maybe a pretty good time, because we're also looking at doing an amendment pretty quickly, you know, just to kind of see where we're at. And that could be something that would work.
Maybe have both of them there.
Yeah, I think that would be nice for, as Maria heads out and Mike comes in, to see that crossover and ask any questions at that point.
Yeah, so if Star, if you wouldn't mind just sending out a doodle poll.
Yeah, we're still working on his crossover days. They don't want to leave the other district in work either. You know, it's just kind of a code thing. They don't do to each other, so.
When is his targeted first start date?
Probably the last week of September-ish,
Oh,
but
okay.
there might be some transition time. I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there might be some days in there too that he might come in when Maria's here as well and do some things.
I was gonna go back to Alicia's comment about, when you talk about the extra work with Fonson on the voluntary alternate, is that what you were asking about?
That's what I was asking about, yeah.
I think if you look at that's a deduct. If you read in the voluntary alternate portion, that if Brighton's plumber does the work with inside the mechanical roof, I believe that's the deduct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
One update from my end, I did get an opportunity, the auditor called me, our accounting firm called me last week, we connected, and great conversation. They'll be here, I don't know if we have
September.
Yeah, sometime in September, one of the meetings in September, I think it's the second one. And we have a real clean bill, everything looks great, and was very complimentary of once again, of, you know, what we've done here in the district over the last 10, 12 years, from where we were previously to where we're at today. Just absolutely unbelievable. So that was great to hear, and they'll certainly have, you know, they'll go into more depth when they're here.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Our next board meeting is Monday, September 9th, 2019 at 7 PM, right here in this room. And I will, Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make a motion to enter the closed session for the purpose of discussing superintendent evaluation contract.
Who supports?
Mr. Stahl?
we need a roll call.
Mrs. Reed,
Yes?
Mr. Stahl,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell, Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Trombley,
Yep.
Mr. Birchfield,
Yes.
Dr. Krebs.
Yes.